Freak Out Friday.
I love that.
Hello, everyone. We're live. We're live here. Hi. It's Fun Freak Out Friday because Fridays are fun. And I always freak out on Fridays because I have to get all the shit done that I haven't gotten done during the week on Fridays. I look at my to-do list. It's like, oh my gosh, I have to get it all done. Okay, so here we are today. Woohoo! And we are with the fabulous, amazing, best-selling author, internationally renowned spiritual speaker and teacher, Matt Kahn. Thank you for applauding yourself. We should all cheer and applaud for ourselves.
Absolutely.
We already got a hi bubblers from Shani.
I love that. We're bubblers.
If you're there, please say hello to me and Matt. Please say howdy. Let us know that we're coming through okay, that we look okay, sound okay, are okay. We already know we are okay. We already know we look okay. I went and took the toxic hairspray and I went, shh.
Did you? I have this new, because I got my hair cut a little bit. I have this new like molding stuff that they sold me. Like they cut my hair and they're like, do you want this too? Sure, whatever. Just give me like clay and I do this apparently.
You can do that with short hair because you can just kind of go like and just do that. That's how I do Jeff's hair. But we've got Melinda's here and everybody's here and Shani is here. Hi. Okay, so here's what we're talking about today. We are talking about the Celebrate Your Life book of the month, but it's also, I am sure, a best-selling book already. Mm-hmm. And when was it released? When was the book released?
It was released last year.
Oh, I thought it was newly released.
Like last year. I mean, still like within a year of being. It's new. Year is new,
it's new.
Yeah, it's very new. I mean,
it's new for me.
And the material, for this world. I mean,
I know
it's a new perspective on so many things, and I writing this book was like being on a rocket ship. It was one of the most exhilarating things I've ever done in my life.
So amazing. So here is the book we have all been reading all month. The universe always has a plan. The 10 golden rules of letting go.
Good stuff.
This is like golden. This is like your handbook for life. This has so much amazing wisdom in it, packed into, and I love the size of it. I love it. When it came, I was like, oh, I love it. It reminded me, Wayne Dyer wrote a short book, like a tiny book like this.
Yeah.
And I loved it because I could take it everywhere with me. So I can
That's so amazing.
I know, I just loved it. And it makes it not so overwhelming when it's so, you know what I mean? It was like so easy. But this is like, I know that most of you have read it because we've been reading it all month, but just in case you haven't been reading it, make certain to pick this up. It is fantastic. And so I'm going to give everyone a little bit of I actually did this the other day. We've been talking about it on my Facebook Lives, and I did this the other day. But I'm going to show everybody again, just in case you weren't here that first time. But what I love is that you have outlined each golden rule like a chapter.
Yes. Yes.
So there are 10 golden rules. I'll read the first 5. Do you want to read 6 through 10?
I can't remember. I remember where's my book? I have to go find one. Like
go find the book.
I should. Those are all cookbooks behind me, by the way. So
what was that?
Let me see. Actually, do I have a? I do.
He doesn't have his own book handy. Go get your book.
I'll go get my book. Okay.
Okay. I'll start reading. Okay. So, I love this. You're saying so happy to be live with the two of you. Thank you, Lee. I'm so glad to see you here. And Harashka is here. Oh, and I love what you're saying, Shani. I love Matt so much.
Aww.
And you know what? This person is coming through as Facebook user, so tell me who this is. It says, love the size too. I've read and listened, have the audiobook too. She's done it twice now.
Thank you.
So here are the 10 golden rules. I shall read 1 through 5, and then the author of the book, read 6 through 10. Hi, Sharon. Hi, Sharon. Okay, so golden rule number 1. You've done nothing wrong. There's a whole chapter in and of itself. Golden rule number 2. Anyone who blames you isn't happy. Number 3. Oh, that's Michelle. Michelle.
Hi,
Her
Michelle.
name isn't showing up. So she's actually read it and she's listened to the audiobook.
Oh, thank you.
I think I want to listen to the audiobook too. So number 3, golden rule number 3, hardships can be fast-tracked through thankfulness. Number 4, feeling better helps everyone heal, which, by the way, I love that chapter, and I'm going to read something from it today because I just love it. And number 5, well-being is a signal that you are ready to embody your potential. Take it away, Matt.
Golden rule number 6, the universe always has a plan. Golden rule number 7, everything changes, but it can only change you for the better. That's actually one of my favorite chapters of the entire book. Golden rule number 8, in order to be emotionally free, it's okay to dislike. That's a big one.
I know, right?
Golden rule number 9, projecting anger drains you of energy. And golden rule number 10, love is your liberator.
So here's my new mantra.
What's that?
Of course, having read the end of the book, is it's what would love say? What would love do?
That. What would love do?
What would love say? Well, yes. I mean, that's what the whole thing is really about.
Right.
About tapping into that unconditional love, that universal energy that we all are, that soul space. Okay, so I want to read something to you.
It's so cool.
You don't know these words, right?
You know, it's funny. I'll tell you something. I finished my 4th book we were talking about. So this is my 3rd book. I channel what I write, but it's hard to recall what I say in a YouTube video, what I write in a book. So like when you read something to me, or as I'm reading through the chapters, as I'm reading just now, I'm like, God, it's like I'm hearing someone else's words. It's so fun. I'm like, that's really good. So it's a very pure experience.
And that's something I wanted, before I read this, that's something I wanted to ask you. And by the way, if any of you have questions, throw the questions in here. Like, put the questions in.
Love me some questions.
Yeah. So that was like one of my questions. You don't come out and say that you're channeling this information, but boy, did it feel.
Yeah.
This was just divinely channeled.
Yeah. And
so I'm curious about that process. And if you're consciously aware you're channeling,
yes.
Do you know the name of the energy? Is it God? Like, tell me.
Sure. Let's get in. Yeah, it's a great question. Well, I call myself, I'm an empathic healer, but I'm also what I call myself an embodied channel. And what that means is I'm channeling, even when on my YouTube videos, I'm channeling everything I say, but I've also gone through so much of an awakening process that the energy is coming through me versus I have to move Matt out of the way for it to come through. So as I speak or write, there's an encodement of healing energy that is in the book, or it's in the video that people watch, or even right now, it's just, I live in a state which is called samadhi, which is a living meditative state, where as I speak and exist, healing energy pours through my written and spoken word. And so when I'm writing, I'm aware that I'm channeling because I'm still here while I'm channeling, which I think is a different level and different take on channeling. But one has to go through a series of awakenings to integrate their ego to be able to be this vessel, so to speak. And many of us are already going through this process, so it's just a new horizon. But when I'm writing, like when I wrote that book, I'm literally watching my fingers move and I'm hearing every line and I'm typing it. And I've worked with ascended masters and archangels my entire life. It will either sound like their voice, which my main guide is either Melchizedek, Archangel Michael. I now work with Mother Mary on a daily basis. So it'll either be the Divine Mother, and that's been for me as not only just a channel, but as a man. It's been the most transformative experience of my life. And so I either hear them coming through and I feel their energy, or I hear my own voice, like my higher self. And it just depends on the moment. It changes by itself, but I hear and I'm writing what I'm hearing, and I'm watching this happen from within my body. And then I'll go back and I'll read it and go, oh my God, you know,
like,
oh my,
wow. Yeah.
How did I capture that? And then I press save 1,000 times to make sure it's captured on a document.
Yeah, because you could never go back to that moment, right? You could never like. So I have a question. So I have so many questions for you about the process, because I just think, you know, and I've had the opportunity. I've had such an honor and such a blessing that you came to one of the last events that we were able to do before COVID hit.
Yeah.
And that was Sedona, Celebrate Your Life Sedona in 2019. And by the way, you guys, if you have any questions about Matt's process or anything, go ahead and put it into the comments. And Dana says, Matt is inspiring, funny, and such a great leader. Walks the talk. Oh, and Lee says that is beautiful. And Shani loves it when your tummy rumbles when you do your live videos and meditation.
That's so funny. So when I'm clearing people's sacral chakras, my stomach rumbles. When I'm clearing people's throat chakras, it feels like this burning tickle. And so it takes some getting used to be able to run the energy, channel it, but I'm also feeling what I'm affecting in the quantum field simultaneously. And I'm also aware of what I'm saying. So I'm in 4 or 5 different places at once, which took me a while to get used to, but because I had no other way but my own process, I've created my own hybrid process for doing this. And it's every time I do this, it's like the first time it's ever happened. It's always like, thank you for allowing me to be a part of this.
How amazing. Okay, so Michelle does have a question, and then I have questions.
Love it.
Okay, so Michelle says, she said, this is difficult to share, but I have a question. Okay. And by the way, for all of you watching, we are live in 8 different places. So the software that I'm using combines all of your questions into one place. So maybe you're on my personal page, or you're on YouTube, or you're on the Sea Whale Online Soul Fest, or in the International Women's Summit group. But it's combining all the questions. You can't see this, but I can, just so you're aware that questions do pop up on my screen with the software. Okay, how can one be grateful for this gift when it is one of abuse that has left you permanently disabled and your life forever changed, and not in a good way?
Yes.
How can you be thankful for the person I am today when your life is such a struggle every day to cope with physical limitations and pain?
Yes.
I understand forgiveness, but when you wake up every single day and the physical reminders are right there, in your face.
Every word of this book that I wrote, and thank you. And what is her name?
It's Michelle.
Michelle, thank you, Michelle. I want to honor Michelle. Thank you, Michelle. Forgive me for trying to say that.
I'm totally kidding.
I know.
I'm laughing right now.
But I just want to say thank you for asking such a deep and vulnerable question. You know, before I answer it, every moment I wrote this book, and every moment I write every book I write, I am always thinking about how this applies to the worst case scenario. I'm always thinking about that. And I'm always thinking about, how do I answer that? How do I respond to abuse? How do I respond to trauma? Because that's the responsibility of the role that I'm in. And I have to think of every single point taken to the extreme, because we all are here to heal. And my heart is with every human being on this planet, whether we have survived human trafficking, whether we have been disabled. We all are survivors of some form of atrocity. And I understand that we could easily look at what has felt like it's been taken from us, what we have lost. And it is in my experiences of meeting people who on a physical level look disadvantaged or disabled. And because of my gift of being able to see energetically, I also see that while on a human level, we can see something and go, wow, how unfortunate. But on an energetic level, I see a rainbow aura. I see a gigantic energy field. And I think how auspicious it is to be able to see how compromised the physical body can become when having to hold and radiate such a vibration for the evolution of humanity. And what I want to say is that there is no excusing trauma. There is no excusing abuse. I'm not even going to sit here and say forgive your attacker or the person that harmed you, because that's a whole different conversation. And I want to make sure that everyone has the right to authentically be exactly where they are in the journey. I will say that the gratitude that I speak of is not a gratitude for objects or a gratitude for circumstances. The gratitude I'm speaking of is, although I am in a different situation, a different body, a different life as a result of circumstances, can I be grateful for what I had the strength to survive and for all of the deeper inner gifts that continue to be revealed in the survival of that trauma? It's a very deep place to start. But unfortunately, when we're dealing with loss and trauma and abuse, the first step has to be the biggest leap, because there's a certain point, and it will happen spontaneously. I think one of the other things that's really interesting to address is we are all here on a spiritual path doing the best to empower ourselves. But I think what is not necessarily spoken about or emphasized enough is that you can empower yourself to a certain degree, but there are certain evolutionary leaps that happen through you and for you that you can't force. And so when we sit here and go, I can't be grateful, it's because it's not time for that to open up to the degree that it will. So I think we have to do the best we can. We have to ask ourselves, can I be grateful for what I survived? Can I focus on me as the survivor and less on them as the attacker? Can I focus on the people and characters who may have rescued me, whether it was a paramedic who saved me in the most shocking moment of pain, the doctors, the nurses that are helping to repair my body, the people in my family that have come to support me, maybe even when it's too vulnerable for me to want to be supported, or I feel like I'm being too much for people. Where are the helpers who helped me survive? And where are the helpers that continue to help me as I survive mentally and emotionally and spiritually? And can I be grateful for that? That is an opportunity, and we all have the right to examine it. We really do.
That is, yes, that is stunning. That is absolutely stunning. And as someone who personally did go through sexual abuse, I don't have physical, there was no permanent physical trauma as the way Michelle was talking about. But I have to tell you, this was one of the most exquisite explanations or gifts of myself about being in gratitude.
Yes.
Because I have struggled so deeply with, I have no tissues around me, so I can't reclamped here.
Use the book. This is, by the way, this is also another feature and benefit. It wipes tears.
It wipes tears, exactly. That is one of the most exquisite teachings that I've heard.
Thank you.
About not necessarily having to forgive, but to be in gratitude for self, of
survival.
I've never heard that before, and I've been doing this again. Okay, so Michelle says, Liz knows this. My biggest helpers are all my animals. Thank you, Matt. That makes a lot of sense. Eat my tissues too, Liz.
And you know what I'd like to add to this, Liz? We were talking about this, and a lot of people don't know this, and I'll probably go into more detail somewhere down the line. But the last 3 years have been the most difficult years of my adult life, and it wasn't like I did like the book, I didn't do anything wrong, but it wasn't any fault. It was circumstances in life. And that not only brought up, put me into positions in my life that I've never been in, but brought up the unresolved from things in my earlier years that were mentally traumatic and abusive that I didn't know were there. And if it wasn't for me being completely decimated over the last 3 years on a daily basis, I don't think I ever would have been able to teach what I just taught right there. And I'm grateful for that. So thank you.
Oh, Matt. Oh,
yeah.
You love him or what?
Thank you.
Like, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Out of the, it's so important for all of us to, and especially for you as a spiritual teacher. And I thank you so much for doing that, to share your vulnerability and what you've been through these past 3 years, with your own self reflection and things that you've dealt with. If we don't allow ourselves, then everyone puts, people who read your books and see you up there on stage, put you on this pedestal, and they'll realize that you've actually really walked through fire.
Yeah.
And that you've had the courage to go deep, to, get down and dirty with yourself, and to be an example for the world.
Yeah. Thank you. I speak on stage. I don't live on pedestals, and people respect my work, and I honor that. And I love that. And what I think when if I'm popular or people love my teachings, what I think about that is the opportunity it gives me to touch people's lives and to inspire, and the opportunity. And from a very deep, authentic place, I will say that the spiritual journey over the many years has been changing. I feel like I represent, and there's many others, represent a new voice, a new way of going about things. And we as people hurt too much and hurt too deeply to teach things that sound good, that cannot be applied in everyday life. So every time I write something, I teach something, it is not, you know what, that sounds good, but walk a day in my shoes. I think about all the shoes people walk in, and I want to see how can that be applied to this life, to someone who is abused, a survivor of human sex trafficking. And I want to make sure that what I am teaching is the most legit, heart-centered, and it may take time to apply it, but it's a journey that will give people what they deserve. That's why I do what I do. And I love this work. I love the work in my own life that I do on a daily basis. And I love the work I get to help people through. But we are in a point in time, and I think this is a really good thing, where any teaching has to be real.
Yeah. It
has to be real. And when I write books, which, sometimes I'll have months off, and then it comes to me. And about once a year, I get this, it's time to write a book. It has to be, this is what the world needs to know and hear.
Right.
And that's the edge I live on. And I think of myself as an artist. And when I'm on stage, or this is my art. And it's the art of helping people in moments that feel atrociously helpless. And there's nowhere I want to be but in that, helping everyone. And it's my greatest honor.
You do it beautifully.
Thank you.
You do it beautifully. I want to go back on a few of these comments.
Yeah, of course.
Because Colleen said something that I would like to read to you. There's somebody that's having can you see the comments?
I can't see the it says private. I can click on it. Let me try to click on this.
Click on comments.
Let me see. Oh, now I can. Yes, I can.
You have to scroll up a little bit.
Okay.
Colleen Silzer wrote, and by the way, I'm seeing everybody. Jody, I see you. Christina, I see you. Judith.
It's a beautiful community.
Joanne Phoenix. Joanne Phoenix, that was beautiful. What your A Course in Miracles is all about. Matt knows this. Wow, Shadi. All right, just know that we're seeing you, Sylvia. I just want everybody to be acknowledged. And Colleen has shared, I've been in a really bad place for several months. It has felt the universe is against me, even though through various teachers, I have discovered it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't seem to be able to get out of this crying, depressed, and hopeless feeling.
Yes.
I'm going to let you speak, Matt. But the first thing that I want to say is this is a beautiful, beautiful handbook. It's like a life handbook. So, Colleen, if you don't have Matt's book, The Universe Always Has a Plan,
Yeah.
The Golden Rules of Letting Go, go grab it right now at your nearest bookseller, whether it's independent or wherever you choose to purchase books. Go and get this book right away. It will be extremely useful. And do you want to jump in?
Yeah. Because I just wait for a second and I kind of wait, and it's like a drop of water hits me on the head and it goes ping, and then the whole teaching comes. That's how it happens. Water or a bird, I don't know. But what strikes me about this, because when I read, I read the energetics of words, and then I wait for something to pop out of me. And so what I think is really important for all of us to know is that typically when we're in a place of hopelessness, depression, crying, in my personal life, there isn't a day that I don't cry. Tears of joy, tears of sadness. I cry every day, and I love that. When we're in a hopeless place, the biggest misconception, because it's no one's fault, but the biggest misconception or misstep we innocently take is that we try to go from hopeless and think the relief is in hopeful. And that's what a lot of people will guide, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm going to take a way different approach, because what I would rather someone do is, instead of trying to move away from hopeless, which is still a judgment against the state of hopelessness, as in hopeful means I'm safe and hopeless means I'm not safe, I would rather look at how can we change our relationship with hopeless. And when we start to learn that hopelessness is a sign that our ego that is dissolving and integrating. Hopelessness is the very feeling of our outdated aspects of self melting away. So when the old is melting before the new has arrived, we are in a state of hopelessness. We are in a state of what feels like emotional duress and a lack of safety, because all beliefs of control and grabbing and attachment are gone. And for most people, they don't see attachments as, or control as, limitations. They see them as coping mechanisms. So the side of the pool we're holding on to has disappeared. The water's going to hold us, but we anticipate drowning, so we flail in hopelessness. And so what if the first step is relax into hopelessness as if it's an evolutionary stage that's not wrong or begging you to escape? We're in hopelessness because it's a stage of evolution. That's where the universe is. When we are trying to get out of hopelessness, we are now separate from the universe. So if we can be where we're at and say, even though I hate hopelessness, right? Be real. Even though I hate hopelessness and I make up all of these conclusions, my vibration must be low. I must be a bad manifester. I must have been some bad character in a past life, or all the things we're taught to rationalize, right? All the spiritual rationalizations, right? Which I am the assassinator of spiritual rationalization. What if hopelessness is an ally? And just ask that question. We don't have to like how it feels. It's like waking up in the middle of the surgery and thinking you're being attacked, and you don't know. No, this is a surgeon. They're helping you. Hopelessness is deconstructing our ego structure. There will be a moment when hope arrives, and hopelessness also is a part of the depression stage of grief. And when we shed our ego, right? All the movies, the Eat, Pray, Love, I surrender my ego, thy will be done. And it's this like big moment. But we're talking about the shedding before we get to that hope. And the shedding of our ego fills us with hopelessness, because we assume subconsciously we are hopeless if nothing to assume, judge, anticipate, or control. So this is the unraveling of defense mechanisms, and we're raw and we're vulnerable and it feels messy and we feel lost. And that's when we're doing that stage correctly. Can we love ourselves through that? Can we say, yes, I'm a wreck right now. I don't want someone to see my least redeemable qualities. Everything I intend doesn't seem to manifest. I don't know what any of this is. I don't know what life is, right? What level of disillusionment has the universe created for you to incubate and come out as a newborn? And can you allow everything to collapse and just say, even when I'm hopeless, I love the one that feels that way. And I will support myself through this with no escape routes. Can we go there? Because I do every day. And I say that we're all in great company. We really are.
Can I love the one that's in there amid the depression, the hopelessness,
yes,
the anxiety, whatever it is?
Not loving depression, because we don't.
It's not
no
love.
one.
What you're saying. It's
Yeah,
love. It's love
one.
who we are. The one.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we? Okay, I'm in hopelessness, and it's an evolutionary process. And even though it's not brimming with features and benefits that I would add to my cart on Amazon, there is a benefit to surviving and struggling through an energy that is actually cultivating the very high vibration that we judge ourselves for not being in. And so this journey deserves a tremendous amount of respect.
Oh, you got to say that slowly. Did you all hear that?
Yeah.
Judging the energy that we're not being in.
Meaning we judge, I must be at a low vibration to be so hopeless.
Right.
But being in hopelessness under a period of time is actually building the pressure of a higher vibration that we think we're not in. So we are cultivating a higher vibration while judging ourselves as if we're less than because we don't like how it is. And again, we can be in these stages for long periods of time.
Right.
It's amazing when you can snap your fingers. And I had a healing like that where literally in 3 seconds, I had 2 bulging discs that were healed spontaneously. And I've had that. And that was wonderful. But I think on the spiritual journey, we rely on that or these big experiences as if here's how I know I'm doing it right. And we judge ourselves when we're really face to face with the grit and gravity of what is actually real about this journey. It's not very marketable, but it's real and it's authentic and it's relieving when you can really receive it.
Oh, if I'm mic dropping. Boom. Colleen, if you're still out there, please let us know that you're still out there.
Yeah.
And you heard that information. If not, I'm going to somehow find you.
Yeah.
So you hear this part of the information. So Colleen, please let us know that you're out there.
And you know what I will say really quickly in my own life, you know, I've befriended hopelessness. And then some people will say, oh, but then I'm going to attract more of it. None of this superstitious stuff has ever existed, but we're past the time where that's even plausible. We don't attract what we embrace. You know, things are a lot more complex, and I think there are certain things that can be very oversimplified. Things are way more complex. When we embrace hopelessness, we are saying it's okay to be hopeless because this too is equally as beneficial of everything I want and desire. And what I think is really important for spiritual beings is learning how to embrace an experience with equal acceptance and authenticity and value to the things we are holding our breath and waiting to attract. That's a very mature.
Yeah, that's really grown up. You know what
I mean? I know
it's like I have to put my big girl panties on for that one.
Look, I had to put my big girl panties on, and look, it wasn't comfortable in the beginning, but I learned to deal with it.
Marcel is asking,
Yeah.
what's the website address?
Mine?
Is it mattkahn.com?
.org.
.org. So it's mattkahn.org.
Yeah. .org.
Marcel is asking. He says, never mind. He is very Googleable.
I've Googled myself. I'm like, whoa, look at that.
I know.
Yeah.
I just want to share what Colleen wrote here.
Please.
She responded, and I'm really glad you're still out there.
Thank God.
Wow, that was the most powerful and loving words of wisdom. Thank you so very much, Liz and Matt. I didn't do anything. It feels I was meant to hear this. Bless you and thank you. But here's what's so interesting is that I read this the other day when I was talking about your book and reading little excerpts from it.
Yeah.
And what's so interesting is that you were talking about like the tumbling of the ego.
Yeah.
And that's the very part that I chose to read today. So I just I know. I thought that was really interesting.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So it's yes, listen to it again and again and again, Colleen. So I just want to read this part. And this is in section Golden Rule number 4. And it's shining your radiant light. It's part of it. So I want you all to hear this, and it just echoes everything that Matt just shared. And in the book, The Universe Always Has a Plan, the 10 Golden Rules of Letting Go. Make sure you pick this book up, everybody. All right. So it's reading hour with Liz. You ready?
Yeah, this is great.
I'm reading and the author's here. It's like I'm a little nervous.
I'll just move my lips.
Okay. You'll move your lips because you want it. When shifting from ego to soul, you are becoming one with the light within yourself. One of the first steps of becoming that light is allowing yourself to shine at full capacity, no matter what the circumstances in view.
Yeah. It's
not that people can't deal with your perfection. It's that people don't know how to deal with their own perfection. An ego would rather see itself as imperfect because at least it's understandable. That which is understandable gives the ego something to manage and maintain. There is no role in perfection. There is nothing for the ego to do. This is why it settles for lesser, more understandable versions of self. In order for you to shine your light without first needing every ego in your life to sign a waiver, I love this part, to sign a waiver releasing you of any liability that your light is going to bring into their reality, it is essential to develop the soul's attribute of trust. Okay, one more sentence. Ready? Trusting that what Matt's like, yeah, I wrote that. Trusting that what you bring forth within you as the light of divinity for yourself, for your family, and for your world is going to help every person you meet.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I forget I write this, but it's wonderful.
I know. One of my favorite parts of the book. You're describing exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. With the hopelessness, what you responded to Colleen about disassembling the ego.
And one of those things, like when you have a relationship with hopelessness, and it's not what I call the unwelcome guest, there is a moment spontaneously, if we're open to hopelessness, depression, or sadness, there's a moment that happens spontaneously for every human being, and we call it awakening. And what happens is you're hopeless, and you've accepted how hopeless you are, and you have there are no future plans at the moment because you are allowing hopelessness to have a home in you. And then all of a sudden there's this shift that says, yes, hopeless is my experience, but within my body, the witness of hopelessness is eternal perfection. And then there's a shift where it wasn't hopelessness separate from perfection. It was that hopelessness was an experience, perfection is having,
That's what yeah.
or perfection decided for Halloween it would dress up as a person who's hopeless. And it shifts.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's being the observer from the perspective of who you truly are.
Yeah, in your body, not outside your body.
Right.
As someone who has come fully into my body, in your body. And what happens is then sadness, depression, all these things are experiences you're having, but there's two parts. There's the experience, but then there's the experiencer. And when we're not quite awake, we don't have an experiencer. We just have experience. Here's what I judge about it. Here's how I see myself. Here's what I got to change to get back to whatever. And there's a battle. But when you wake up, there is, hopelessness, despair, anxiety. But the experiencer of these things is untainted, unconditioned, pure, radiant, eternal perfection. And so it's not like trying to take the hopeless person and get them to think of themselves as perfect or do something that you think will make you perfect. It's actually seeing that what's actually having the experience, right? The movie is of hopelessness, but who is sitting in the theater watching the movie is perfection. That's who bought the ticket.
There are no more words to say today.
Well, let's even make the energy. Let's even make it more lucid. Let's crank the
that's like really it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really, really it.
It is. So if perfection is in the theater and hopelessness is just the storyline of the movie, and you think, well, there's distance. But if you think about incarnation, imagine the edges of the movie theater screen extend and like a circle, hook behind your chair in the theater. So now the screen is circular. So now you're not in the theater watching the movie. The movie's around you.
Right.
You're in it. So your seat in the theater is your body. This is the ticket we bought. The movie is hopeless, but the ticket holder, the witness, is perfection. And something in us, because we're so biologically hardwired to eternal truth, when it is spoken, chills, like you just chills, resonance. The mind goes, I don't know if I can remember that, but it already said yes. And the yes is, this is already within me. If only we could acknowledge and respect, we're in a process of remembering it.
Remembering who we truly are. Yes. Remembering the perfection.
Yes.
That is our birthright.
It is our natural state. And even when I've gone through the last 3 years that I talked about, there wasn't one moment that I didn't know myself as pure eternal perfection. But that was not a way to bypass and minimize the sheer absolute inner deconstruction that happened to me. So I could see, yes, I am falling apart. Yes, this is an experience eternal perfection is having. But that didn't change my experience. That wasn't for me to try to feel better. That was just awareness. Because the experience is what perfection wants to have. And so it's learning to be where perfection is, and where perfection is, like a lotus that blossoms in muddy waters. We have to be where perfection is. Perfection is not in perfection land. It's on vacation, evolving as a soul in a human body.
So you've heard me speak about my mom.
Yeah.
Ariel. And the last year of her physical being in the planet, her mantra was always, everything is perfect. And she was much in alignment.
Yeah.
Everything is perfect. And here she is, it's the last year of her life, and she's in a wheelchair. This was a fiercely independent woman, way ahead of her time.
Yeah.
She's in a wheelchair. She's lost, the use of her legs, and the cancer has gone to her brain at this point. And I'm sitting and talking with her, and she's in and out of being in India. during this journey, which was so cool. I think she was dipping in and out of past lives and sharing
Go mom.
with us in lucid, conversation. Yeah. And I said to her, how are you dealing with all of this, Mom? How are you really internal? And she had this blissful smile on her face. And of course came, it is all about the perfection of who we truly are. And this is just me experiencing this. She said 100% faith.
Yes.
100% faith of the perfection of who we are. And I was just like, okay. I was just brought to my knees as I am right now in remembering, remembering.
And it's funny, there's a couple things I'd like to say just because it came up so clearly. One is when you hurt and you're in pain to a certain degree, there is a simultaneous experience where you're in pain. Mm-hmm. You're actually too in pain to avoid or negotiate, right? Mm-hmm. God, what did I do to deserve this? That's negotiation. We're beyond that. You're so in pain that simultaneously there's a strange freedom and joy, almost reveling in the pride of I've never felt this deeply before, almost as if being completely shattered is a form of emotional yoga where, my body, I'm stretching limbs that are so inflexible, but I've never felt this deeply before. And there's a pride the soul has for that. And what's interesting about your mom, my mom in the last part of her life had almost a similar experience where she was relegated to a wheelchair. She lost the use of her legs. She had Raynaud's, so she couldn't use her hands. And my mom, I had a great relationship with both my parents, but there was a lot of interesting dynamic and things that were very traumatizing for me on an emotional and mental level. We've healed all that. And I write about it in my next book. My mom was often called Judge Judy. You didn't mess with my mom. My mom was 5 foot and one of the scariest person. If you messed, really, and I was trained like a Navy SEAL in my family because I would just watch everything because none of it made sense. My mom, who lived to control, lost the use of her hands. So she was in a wheelchair. My dad is in hospice in a hospital bed in the living room of the house I was raised. My dad declined very quickly. My parents had been married for 48 years, never spent a day apart. Wow. My dad, there's a lot of trauma that I've healed about my mom and how I was treated when she got triggered. And I carried a lot of pain around that and a lot of fear around the feminine. And I have to do what everyone wants because I'm afraid to upset people because they're going to hurt me. When I saw my mom as my dad was dying, and my mom was next to my dad in a wheelchair, but had no ability to move her hand to even touch her husband because she lost the use of it. So she was close, but miles away. And my mom was just bawling from the lack of control she had. And we moved her hand to touch him. When I saw my mom have absolutely no control and watch her without use of her body, watch her beloved slip away, it was a spontaneous moment because when you're hurt by people, there's a moment inside you at a young age that thinks, I can't wait for them to at least just watch back on the screens in heaven and just know what they did. And I spontaneously realized at that moment that the woman who, on some level, did quite a number on her son, and the person that I have learned the most from, let's just say that, when I saw that the pain she carries in her as she completely lost it was equal to the pain I was put through. And we are in the exact same pain, whether she kind of hides it and I can't really see it. When I saw that her pain and my pain is exactly the same, even though it seems different because I'm me, I didn't choose to forgive. Forgiveness happened through me. So when we are in a moment of our life, I say this for everyone on this call, saying I forgive you is one level of it. And if it happens, that's wonderful. But there is a moment where forgiveness happens beyond your will. And what it is from, it is when you see, and we all see when we do, that the people that have harmed us carry the exact intensity of pain and damage that we do, but we as the victims don't see it because we're in our perspective and narrative. And at that moment, there wasn't a son, there wasn't a mother, there was just pain, acknowledging pain, and it all went away.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like a compassion moment.
Yes, that's what true forgiveness is the grace of compassion.
Yeah. I had that happen to me with my biological dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is just stunning.
Yeah.
And you've helped me to put words to that because I
Thank
had.
you.
Yeah.
I love that. And you know, that's what this journey is. It's stunning, but it's not, I'm trying to figure this out so I could change my experience. It's not, how do I figure out how to rearrange the furniture of my reality? You know, there are moments when choices matter and we have options, and that's all great. We resonate, and that's amazing. But when we're in the trenches of an evolutionary process that, you know, and we're living in a world that has, for up to this point, lived in the absence of the absolute purpose of why we're here, a world where everything other than the evolutionary process is in awareness for most people. This is just a gigantic relearning process. And we're all, you know, please be gentle with ourselves, because we only know what we know. And then when you see more, it is the grace just bringing revelation. And it will happen so much faster and more often if we let go, if we can.
So much easier said than done, letting go.
100%. And you know, the funny thing is, I wrote this in the book. I wrote, you're not the one who lets go. You're the one who's let go of. And so when I say let go, it's almost like another word for breathe and relax.
Oh, and everybody's making comments like crazy here. Eva, I see what you've written. She's learned to love herself, learn to trust and accept. And she is so grateful for all that you do. And Shani is now crying.
Oh.
Melanie sends love. Carla sends love. Christina, it's like a moment of complete release, I would imagine. Yes. And this is so revealing. Yes. Diane, Colleen, Diane, feel like a ghost sometimes, but I sing through it. Good.
Yeah.
Colleen, the realization we are all one, connected together through our experience. Liz, this of all conversations on CYL, one of the best. I know, I think we're going to have Matt come back more often, yes?
I would love that. I would love that.
Jill is here. Hi, Jill Cruz.
It's amazing.
I could do this for another 2 hours, and unfortunately, I don't have the time, but I absolutely want you back here.
Oh, we'll do it. Yeah, you let me know.
And we'll just do it.
I love that. For
all of you, for those of you who did not pick up the book this month, please make sure, because I still have more questions for you, but we've gone like an hour. I was like, okay, we'll talk for 30 minutes.
Yeah, right.
Make sure and get the book. The universe always has a plan. The 10 golden rules of letting go. Grab this book. It is absolutely exquisite. It is gentle. It is easy. It is love. It is like, it's your handbook. And you can take it so easily with you. You can see my cover's a little tattered, which is a good sign. That means I've been handling it a lot. All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. And Matt, this is just so.
Thank you.
He'll be back, okay?
I'll be back. I promise. And this is my greatest. And I just, you know, for all that I've been through, that, you know, this time, and for what we've all been through, you know, and I just say this as a foreshadowing for all of us, because we're all reflections of where we're all going.
Yes.
I've been teaching for about 15 years. And I've loved everything I've taught. Love it. I've always felt, because I'm just channeling and I'm being true to my process. But what has happened to me over the last 3 years, and the kind of teacher it's made me now, it feels like I'm just beginning for the first time. And there is what we are all going through as we find our way through this. what it creates out of us and what we bring to the world as a result of such mass inner destruction, what benefit we will be to others and ourselves will bring you to greater tears of joy than the tears of heartache you've endured and survived. And so we got this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, mwah. Matt, hang in there a second.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Love
And
you.
on that note, have an absolutely exquisite weekend. And we will be back, and share this video. If you would share this video wherever you are, you can share it from the Celebrate Your Life fan page and just share it out there. This was a conversation that I believe millions of people all over the world need to hear.
Yeah.
All right. Love you all. Thank you so much for joining us.
Love you.